Title: Wife gave me divorce papers on our anniversary because I took a pay cut after struggling financially. But when I told her about my new side business, she suddenly wanted to work things out. So I called her unwomanly for abandoning me during hardship. The waiter placed the dessert between us like it was something fragile. 2 forks, 1 candle, chocolate melting down the sides in slow, quiet streaks. 15 years of marriage, reduced to a plate we barely touched. I had rehearsed my smile in the mirror that morning, not because I felt happy, but because I didn't want this night to feel like another failure. I'd even worn the watch she gave me years ago, the one I stopped wearing after I took the pay cut. It no longer fit the man she thought I was. She didn't look at the cake. She didn't look at me. Instead, she reached into her purse and slid a white envelope across the table. First, I thought it was a card. I actually smiled. "Did you forget to write it?" I asked gently, tapping the envelope with one finger. She exhaled, long and tight, like someone finally letting go of something heavy. "No," she said. "I didn't forget." I opened it. Divorce papers don't make noise, but I swear I heard something crack inside my chest as I read the first line. My name, our anniversary date, legal language that felt colder than the restaurant's air conditioning. I looked up at her. She was already staring at her wine glass. "You're doing this tonight?" I asked. She nodded. I didn't want to drag it out. 15 years, 2 kids, a mortgage we barely held together after I took a lower paying position to keep my job at all. Long nights staring at spreadsheets, wondering how to stretch what was left. "You said it was temporary," she continued, her voice careful, cracked, "but it's been a year, and I didn't marry someone who moves backward." There it was. Not anger, not betrayal, disappointment. "I'm still working," I said quietly. "I'm still providing, just not the way we planned." She finally looked at me then. Her eyes weren't cruel. They were resolved. "I need stability," she said. "I can't live in survival mode forever." The candle burned down between us. I signed nothing. I said nothing. I folded the papers carefully and slid them back into the envelope. When the waiter returned, she smiled at him, thanked him, asked for the check. On the drive home, she spoke about logistics, who would move out first, how we'd explain it to the kids, how we'd stay civil. I nodded where appropriate. What I didn't tell her, what I hadn't told anyone, was that the pay cut forced me to build something on the side. Something small at first, quiet, late nights after everyone slept. It wasn't successful yet, but it was close. And that night, lying awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling fan spin in uneven circles, I realized something that hurt more than the divorce papers ever could. She hadn't left because we were struggling. She left because she didn't believe I could climb back out. And once that belief was gone, so was everything else. 3 weeks passed without raised voices or slammed doors, just paperwork, quiet logistic, polite distance. We lived in the same house like guests waiting for different flights. I took the early mornings, she took the evenings. The kids sensed something had shifted, but didn't yet know what to call it. Every night after they went to bed, I went back to the small room I'd converted into an office years earlier, the one she'd joked about as my little hobby cave. I stopped correcting her a long time ago. The side business had started as a necessity, consulting work first. Then a niche service I realized companies were desperate for but didn't know how to articulate. I learned by doing, failed twice, lost sleep, burned through savings I never told her about. The pay cut had humiliated, but it also stripped away my complacency. That night, exactly 23 days after our anniversary dinner, I closed my laptop and leaned back in the chair, staring at the confirmation email. The contract was signed. Not a miracle, not overnight wealth, but enough to erase the fear, enough to stabilize everything, enough to breathe. I didn't celebrate. I didn't tell anyone. I went to bed and slept for the first time in months without waking up at 3 a.m. to check numbers in my head. The call came the next afternoon. She sounded different, lighter. "I heard something today," she said. "I was in my car, parked outside the grocery store, engine off." "About what?" "About you," she replied. "From Melissa. Her husband's firm is partnering with a consultant who fits your description. She mentioned your name." I closed my eyes. "And?" I asked. There was a pause. Then, "Is it true?" "Yes." Another pause. Longer this time. "You never said anything. You never asked," I replied. Not sharply, just factually. Her voice softened. "Why wouldn't you tell me?" I thought about the nights she'd gone to bed early while I stayed up working. The times she'd dismissed it as avoided. The way she'd already decided what my future looked. "I needed to know if it was real first," I said. "I wasn't going to ask you to believe in something I wasn't sure of myself." Silent. Then she cleared her throat. "Well, it sounds promising." "It is. I mean, if this works out," she continued carefully, "it changes things." There it was. Not "I'm sorry," not "I hurt you," just this changes things. She suggested cough, neutral ground. To talk. I agreed. Not because I wanted reconciliation, but because I wanted clarity. She arrived early, smiled too quickly, asked about my day, complimented my jacket. "I've been thinking," she said, stirring her drink though she hadn't added anything to it, "about how fast I reacted, about the pressure. I might have panicked. I waited. You were always capable," she added. "I never doubted that. I just didn't know how long I could wait." That sentence landed harder than she intended. I wasn't asking you to wait, I said. I was asking you to stand. Her eyes flickered. That's not fair, isn't it? She reached across the table, then stopped herself. We could pause the divorce, she said. See how things go. You know, work on us. I studied her face, the familiarity, the history, the woman I'd built a life with, and the one who had decided that life wasn't good enough when it dipped. What happens if this business fails? I asked. She frowned. Why would you think that? Answer the question. Another pause. Well, we'd have to be realistic. I nodded slowly. There it was again. Realism, only when it protected her. I paid for the coffee and stood. I don't think you're a bad person, I said, but I do think you left when things got hard, and now that they're easier, you want to come back. That's not true, she said quickly. I looked at her, really looked at her. Then why didn't you sit across from me on our anniversary and ask how I was holding up? She didn't answer. As I walked out, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not anger, not relief, resolve. The business was real. The opportunity was real. But the marriage she wanted to save now, that had already expired. And I was done pretending otherwise. She didn't call for a week after the coffee. No texts. No just checking in. No quiet re-entry attempts. Then, on a Thursday night, as I was tucking the kids in, my phone buzzed. Her name. I answered because I didn't want them to hear it ring unanswered. I've been thinking, she said without preamble. Her voice was firm now, controlled, like she'd rehearsed this. About what you said, about standing by someone. I closed the door to the hallway and leaned against the wall. Okay, you're acting like I betrayed you, she continued, but I was honest. I told you what I needed. Stability, security. You took a pay cut without consulting me. That affected all of us. I consulted you, I said quietly. You just didn't like the answer, she exhaled sharply. That's not the point. It is, I replied, because the moment the numbers scared you, you decided I wasn't worth the risk. There was a beat of silence, then her tone hardened. You know what this sounds like? She said. It sounds like you're punishing me for being practical. No, I said. I'm protecting myself from someone who leaves when things stop benefiting her. That's when she snapped. So what? Now you're some martyr, she scoffed. You took a gamble, paid off, and suddenly you're above everyone? You want credit for struggling? I want accountability, I said. There's a difference. She laughed once, bitter and sharp. This is exactly why I filed. You always make everything moral, black and white. I thought about the years I'd softened my needs so hers felt reasonable, about how often I'd swallowed disappointment to keep peace. Let me ask you something, I said. If the business hadn't worked, if I was still struggling, would you be calling right now? Her silence answered before her words did. That's unfair, she finally said. No, I replied. That's honest. Her voice rose. I'm allowed to want more. I'm allowed to leave a situation that isn't working. Absolutely, I said. And I'm allowed to decide what that choice says about. That struck a nerve. So now I'm the villain? She demanded. For not wanting to be dragged down? I closed my eyes. This was the moment, the one I'd replayed all week, wondering what I'd say if it came. You didn't drag me down, I said slowly. You walked away while I was carrying the weight for all of us. And now that it's lighter, you want back in. She scoffed. You sound resentful. I sound clear. There was a long pause. Then she said it, the line that crystallized everything. You know, a real partner doesn't shame a woman for choosing herself. What you're doing right now, it's unwomanly. I opened my eyes. Unwomanly? I repeated. Yes, she said, emboldened. You're attacking me for not sacrificing my standard, for not staying with a man who couldn't provide. That's not how the world works. My voice stayed calm, almost gentle. No, I said. What's unwomanly is abandoning your spouse during hardship and calling it self-respect. What's unwomanly is wanting commitment only when it's profitable. She inhaled sharp. How dare you? How dare I? I asked. I stayed. I cut expenses. I took the hit. I worked night. I protected the kids from the stress. And when I asked for time, you handed me divorce paper. Her voice cracked. I didn't know it would turn around. That's the point, I said. Neither did I. Another silence. This one felt different, heavier. So, that's it? She asked. You're done? I thought about the contract, the late nights, the quiet pride of building something without applause, and the woman on the other end of the line who'd only noticed once it paid off. Yes, I said. It is. She whispered my name. I wish you well, I replied. But I'm not interested in reconciling with someone who only believes in me after the risk is gone. The line went dead. I stood there for a moment, phone still in my hand, heart steady. For the first time, I wasn't proving anything. I was choosing myself, without apology. 2 days after that call, the papers arrived. Not the divorce ones. We already had those in motion. These were email, messages, quiet inquiries that told me she hadn't accepted no as an answer. Her sister reached out first. She's not doing well. You know she panics when things feel unstable. Can't you at least talk? I didn't reply. Then a mutual friend texted. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. She was scared. You know how she gets when money's involved. I stared at that sentence longer than I should have. You know how she gets when money's, as if that explained everything, as if fear excused abandon. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat alone at the kitchen table, the same table where she'd slid the divorce toward me on our anniversary. The imprint from the folder was still faintly visible in the wood. I hadn't noticed until now. I thought about all the times I'd reassured her when she was anxious, all the spreads made, the extra shift, the conversations where I'd said, just give me a little. She hadn't given me time. She'd given me term. The next morning, my lawyer called. She wants to pause proceeding. Claims there's been a misunderstanding. She's asking if reconciliation is on the table. I laughed once, not loud, just enough to feel the sound in my chest. No, proceed. There was a pause on the line. Sure? Because here's the truth I hadn't admitted. If I let her back now, I'd spend the rest of my life wondering when the next down would send her running. That afternoon, she showed up at the house unannounced. I opened the door because the kids were at school, and I didn't want a scene later. She looked different, not broken, but unsettled, like someone who'd lost their footing and expected the ground to rush back under them. I just want to talk, she said. I stepped aside, didn't invite her in. We stood in the entryway, the space between us thick with everything unsaid. You've changed, she said, scanning the quiet, the order. You're colder. I'm clearer. She shook her head. You're punishing me. No, I said. I'm accepting who you showed me you were. Her voice soft. I was under pressure. Everyone expects something from me. I needed to know you could handle it. I was handling it, I said. You just didn't like how it looked. She swallowed. You didn't have to call me that. Unwomanly? I asked. Yes. I met her gaze. I didn't say it to hurt you. I said it because you framed abandonment as empowerment, and that matters, especially when there are kids watching. Her eyes flicked away. They don't need to know everything, she muttered. They already do, I said. They saw who stayed. That did it. Tears welled up, fast and frustrated. So you're really done? Yes. She nodded slowly, like she was memorizing the answer. As she turned to leave, she said, almost to herself, I thought success would fix this. I watched her walk down the driveway, shoulders tight, steps uncertain. Success didn't fix it, I said quietly. It just revealed it. The door closed behind her, and for the first time since everything fell apart, the house felt peaceful, not empty. The hearing was quiet. No dramatics, no speeches, just signatures, dates, and the steady scrape of a pen across paper. She sat across from me at the long table, hands folded, posture stiff. She'd dressed carefully, neutral colored, professional, controlled. The version of herself she used when she wanted to look reasonable. I didn't look at her much. I didn't need to. The judge spoke plainly. Custody arrangement, asset division, timeline. Nothing vindictive, nothing dramatic. Just the formal dismantling of a life we once believed in. When it was over, she lingered. I stood to leave. Wait, she said, her voice lower now, stripped of performance. Can I ask you something? Honestly? I paused, hand on the back of the chair. One question. She hesitated. If things had gotten better, if the business hadn't taken off, would you have forgiven me? That was the first real question she'd asked since this began. I thought about it carefully, about the nights I'd stayed up worrying, about the anniversary dinner, about the divorce papers sliding across the table like a verdict. No, I said gently, because it wasn't about the money. It was about who you became when there wasn't enough of it. She nodded once, like she already knew. I didn't think you'd survive without me, she admitted. I thought you needed me to steady things. I met her eyes then, not with anger, but with clarity. I needed a partner, I said, not a weather vane. She didn't argue. Outside the courthouse, the sky was overcast but bright. One of those days that feels undecided but breathable. A week later, the side business officially became my full-time work. Not flashy, not explosive, just stable, sustainable, mine. The kids adjusted faster than I expected. Kids always do when they're given consistency instead of promises. One night, my daughter asked, "Are we poor now?" I smiled. No, but even if we were, we'd still be okay. She nodded, satisfied. Months passed. I heard through mutual circles that she'd moved closer to the city, that she'd taken a job she once said was beneath her, that she talked a lot about starting over. I didn't wish her harm, but I didn't wish her back. Because here's the quiet truth that doesn't make headlines or speeches. The real loss wasn't the merit, it wasn't the money, it wasn't the lifestyle. What she lost was the man who would have stood beside her when things were hard, because she proved she wouldn't do the same. And I gained something far more valuable than financial security. I gained the certainty that when life bends, I don't break. Was this revenge perfectly justified, or should the storm have raged harder? Drop your verdict below. I read every single one. Hit like if you crave justice, and share this story with someone who needs its fire. Subscribe to Lauren's story, because here, betrayals don't sleep. They hunt their owners. Every shadow hides a reckoning. Every mask breaks, and every betrayal is answered. Stay sharp, stay unbroken, stay tuned.